So this is the solar powered street light. We're gonna unbox it here and then install it and then see what it looks like later on tonight. So this is the light itself. This thing's a lot bigger than I thought. It's actually pretty heavy too. You can see it comes with the bracket already, and it has a bracket on top to mount the solar panel right on top. So it's gonna be looking just like this. So the solar panel on top and the light mounted to the wall. So what do we got here? We have the light itself. We have the bracket for the solar panel. So this is the solar panel right here. And so this bracket is gonna go right on the back like this. And then this bracket is going to mount on top of the light. So we have the installation guide. Now there's a few different ways you can mount this. So it has a pole mount bracket. So you can use this optionally to mount it to a pole. And then you're gonna use these threaded bolts right here to use it with that pole bracket. But alternatively, you've got anchors for if you're mounting into masonry, or it does also come with these screws. Now, I would prefer a longer screw here if I'm not going into like a real solid material, because this thing is quite heavy and you've got quite a bit of weight coming off of this bracket here. And then, you know, if you think about the solar panel on top as well, you're gonna have quite a bit of weight. So I would probably want to go with a bigger lag, and definitely make sure you're gonna get into a stud with this thing, because the last thing you want is this thing to fall off. All right, so the first step is I'm gonna unbolt the bracket. That way I can mark and drill the holes for the bracket without having the weight of the light hanging off. So it includes the Allen keys that you would need to unscrew both of these bolts right here. All right, so these are the screws that come with it. I'm really not liking these screws. Yeah, these screws are way undersized. You're gonna wanna go with something a lot bigger than this. All right, you definitely wanna go with some bigger lags or screws. This is what came with the light, and this is what I'm gonna use. This is, I think, a 2.5 inch. And really this is kind of lightweight for what's hanging off of this bracket. But we're gonna go with this and see how this does. We'll grab the drill and the bracket, and I'm actually going to be mounting this up in a tree. So we're going to mount it right here. So it does have little keyhole slots. So if you want to start with 2 screws, I would actually recommend measuring this out and marking it. But since this is just up in a tree, it doesn't have to be very precise or aligned with anything. So I'm just going to eyeball it. And that's the great thing about this thing. It's solar powered. So I don't need to be anywhere near electricity in order to install it. So these thread in pretty nicely just to the metal, even without a nut. All right, so I can basically just hold the light to whatever angle I want. So we'll try something like this. All right, and we'll tighten those main bolts. I'll have to just grab a wrench or some pliers to tighten these nuts onto these bolts. All right, so next I'm gonna take the foam packing out of the solar panel, and we'll get the bracket mounted to the panel. Yeah, the holes are a little off, but it's still gonna let me thread these on. It's just threading into the aluminum frame of the solar panel. You don't want to go too tight with these because it's literally just threading into the solar panel aluminum. All right, so just need to unscrew these bolts for the solar panel mount. Get these nuts off. Try not to drop them. Thread that in. Get these nuts on without dropping them. And then the last thing to do is connect the solar panel. So it's going to have a flat edge on one side, so you know you don't accidentally connect it in reverse. So you just squeeze them together and then screw on the weather-tight seal, and good to go. So I see some lights blinking on the indicators here. So let's go try it out.
So there are a few different modes you can put this in using the remote, but by default, it's going to have a low power light that's just on all the time. And then there's actually a motion sensor in the light. So if someone goes under the light, it'll go on to full power. And you can see it has a pretty good spread of light. It was really dark on this night, but you can see how bright the light is. And then after a certain amount of time, it'll go back to the low power mode. So overall, the light was super easy to install, and I'm definitely impressed with the amount of light it throws out. And I really love that it's solar powered because I didn't need to wire it to anything, and I was able to mount it wherever I wanted.